Welcome back to another Canon movie review. Today we're going to be talking about Rogue One, a Star Wars story. Alright, so before we get started, I want to introduce Matt. He's a friend of the Canon. He'll be reviewing this with us today. As you know, Star Wars has a gigantic following, so we're glad to have somebody else here today. Alright, so let's start off, guys. If someone was asking you when they should go see this, what would you recommend? We'll start with Matt.
Yeah, I mean, if you are a big Star Wars fan, you should, like the three of us, have already seen it, or go see it again on, as many times as you can, really. If you're kind of in the middle, not sure if you're a big Star Wars fan, I would say that it's a good movie to see, pretty much during the holiday weekends, and a cool action movie, even if you aren't a huge Star Wars guy.
Yeah, I would say definitely if you're Star Wars, go see it now or see it yesterday. But even if you're just a moviegoer, I would say go see it next weekend, just because it's not quite just a Star Wars movie. It's a good movie itself. So if you're into war or like kind of espionage, spy stuff, I would say definitely the movie for you. Go see it next weekend.
And I will say, if you are a big Star Wars fan, you read all of canon, yes, you should have seen it already, see it opening weekend. If you are having some type of family gathering and you have a Star Wars loving family, I would definitely say see it Christmas weekend, because then you could go out and see that and then lead into a whole little Star Wars marathon if you want to. I think it would be a nice kickoff before the original trilogy. But if you're a casual fan, I'm honestly going to recommend you just wait a few weeks. Definitely see it in theaters. I don't think sitting at home will do it as much justice. But I would wait till early January if I could, just till the lines die down, if you aren't big into it. Alright, so let's kick off some negatives, as we like to start with. Any negatives, Matt, that pop out to you?
It was tough to find. I kind of pinned my negatives down to, I don't know, The Force Awakens and Rogue One both have this weird interest in introducing octopus, weird characters like the Rathtars in Force Awakens. And so I thought that truth gathering, like octopus looking alien, was kind of strange in Saw's headquarters. I didn't really like that, and it took me like one scene to get over the big CGI Tarkin reveal. It was a little bit weirder, but aside from that, I really didn't have many negative things to say about the movie.
Yeah, the only thing, there's two things. One was I didn't feel like Jyn Erso and I forgot, I don't even know what's the other main character.
Cassian.
Yeah, Cassian. I didn't feel like their characters were that strong in terms of they didn't really develop too much. But at the same time, I don't think you really needed that with this movie. The movie kind of spoke for itself. So, but I thought from the previews, especially the first teaser one, that Jyn was going to be a very rebellious kind of person, for lack of a better word. And I thought she was going to really butt heads with the other rebels in the team, and kind of be out for her own well-being. But that didn't really happen. It kind of happened at first when they first, captured her back. And then she just kind of went with the flow and kind of learned as she went. So I was just kind of, maybe I just expected her to be someone else, and that was the problem. Another one was, it was very action-based. It was a very action-based movie, which it did it very well. So I'll be forgiving in terms of the story itself. It was a very simplistic story. All they need to do was get the plans and send them back to the rebels, which is fine. But between, the beginning and the end, besides the whole her and her dad angle, there wasn't much else to the movie. So that's where I thought it lacked, but at the same time, I think everything else made up for that.
Yeah, so I have a long list. So it probably won't take long to realize how I feel about this movie, but one of the things that just overall this does for me is that, and you can tell me if you feel the same way, is that when you build up this whole extra movie about the Death Star, it kind of ruins like Star Killer Base and anything they do afterwards. Because for me, it's like even if you didn't read Catalyst, you got a whole movie for it. And if you did read Catalyst, you know even more about like all the work that went into the Death Star, and then Starkiller Base is just
There it is.
like, all right. Now, granted, they have the plans, and so they just redid it and made it bigger, but it just lacks something. And I mean, it wasn't big for me to begin with, but anything after Death Star, if they keep doing that, it's just gonna be like, okay. So.
Yeah, it did kind of. There is like a little bit of a hole in the whole, like, you know, Galen Erso made the flaw in the Death Star, and then it's like they just kept building bigger ones with the same flaw. Like, you'd think they would have figured it out. I did think about that too. It's like, I think we need to be done with Death Star related Star Wars themes for now. I hope so.
Yeah.
But
yeah, and so I mean, a lot of my problems actually stem from the fact that I read the book prior to, and because Lyra, who is Jen's mother, she is portrayed as a very smart, very strong, force-sensitive person who is like the equal to Galen Erso. And she goes through all these different things, and then in the first few minutes of the movie, she just not even smartly runs out with a gun and gets shot. And I'm just like, I wanted to scream in the theater. I was just like, what? Like, why? And then outside of her, Krennic himself, it's like, if you didn't read that book, you'd be like, who cares about this dude? Like, what does he really do? Like, why is he walking around so upset all the time and nervous about this Death Star? And so overall, they don't build any character up, like, at all to me. And I'm just, that was kind of disappointing because you wanted to stand on its own. And I read the book, so I have background on pretty much everybody. So I'm like, okay, fine for me. But if all these regular fans that are just sitting here, they're like,
yeah, I think that's part of the problem for me. Was I picked out the two main characters because I feel like those are the most important, but at the same time the other characters were just kind of there, so you didn't really know. You knew their motivations because good and bad, but other than that, you didn't see much of their inner character or inner, being. So yeah, I can agree with you on that.
And I would say I didn't even know most of their motivation. Like Jen, of course, but I mean, granted, they didn't think it was a suicide mission, but you pretty much knew it was. You were going into Imperial planet with no help, so you kind of knew you were going to die. And it's like, what made you guys want to go kill yourselves? Like, Donnie Yen, okay, he's upset Jedha's destroyed, but his partner, who I can't even remember his name, he seemed like he didn't even believe in the Force. So, like, I'm sure Jedha being destroyed was not enough for him to go, I'm going to go kill myself to get these death plans. So I'm just like, and then that's the other thing, they had no plan. Like, I was sitting there when they were like, oh, the rebels were like, we're not going to do it. We're going to, not do it. Yeah. And then I don't even know, the rogues of the rebels said, we're going to go. And I was like, and do what? Like,
basically
they were like, where are the plans? Like, how do we get it? How do we get it out? They didn't go over anything. They were just like,
they learned as they went.
We're going to show up and hope it works out. So, that was annoying for me. But yeah, I'll stop with there. My major negatives.
Those are your negatives. Okay.
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, so
really quick, as you say that, a lot of the problems kind of felt like you seemed it was pretty rushed and didn't really develop people in the story. Would you have rather them made it, and it's not far off because students have done this, would you rather make it a trilogy?
Oh no.
I think we have too many trilogies and things that go too long, but I think this could definitely have been.
Here's the thing, like,
for that sake.
Here's the thing, the only thing I'll say to that is that if you were going to make a trilogy, you have to start prior to where Rogue One begins, which basically is Catalyst. And if you think the prequels are boring because of political talk, man, wait, if you read Catalyst, like, it was an audio book. I probably would have fell asleep otherwise. Like, it was, and I like the politics stuff, so don't get me wrong, but it is dense. It is not much fighting. It is not much anything going on. So it's very, a thinking man's type thing. So if you make Catalyst a movie and then you want to flesh out, I don't know, because then you have to bounce around to all these characters to lead them up to that point. So I mean, yes, more movies always gives you more time, but I don't know. For this particular concept, it's so small. Like I said in our expectations, it's a small part in the Star Wars canon. They chose to blow up and make a movie that I don't think it was a good way to do it. I don't think there's a good way to tell it.
See, I agree with that, like the critique of the lack of character development, but I kind of think that that was a challenge but I think the kind of the development was totally towards this goal of getting the plans of the Death Star. So I think they made it like a purposeful like route to take where they weren't going to develop characters and spend that time on it. Like
like it definitely, like I said, action based espionage kind of arc, and they said we have enough time, like you just said, we have enough time to do all these characters and all this inner story, so let's just kind of not focus on that. It worked for some people, and obviously it didn't work for others, but I think it's forgivable.
It's because I feel like we had the same exact thing with the Suicide Squad, where you were like, it wasn't enough, and I was like, that's fine. But again, my point then and now is they were villains. It was easier to write them off, like whatever, and then they had bombs in their neck. I'm like, these guys free willingly are running into this trap, and I'm just like, why? Like, why are you guys doing that? But I mean,
they give you a little hint with Cassian, kind of when he like Jin is like screaming at him, right. And he kind of like gives why he and then
just never know nothing about
that. And then Donnie Yen's character, and then his like side. I think it was part because of Jeddah, and part because of
their relationship.
And you don't really know why the rogue Imperial pilot, like aside from his affection for Jalen, you don't necessarily know why.
I'll go with you.
I do agree. It is like you get a little bit of a glimpse, but to go suicide mission, it is like it was definitely like you weren't totally sure of their motivations.
And then my last thing that and it's smaller. I feel like the best shots in the movie were in the trailer, like visually. As I was saying, the expectation. I actually ended up not going to see it IMAX, but I think had I seen it in IMAX, it would have been a waste of money, just because after I watched it, I'm like, yes, whenever they pan up to the sky and you see like the larger than life stuff, it looks good, but other than that, it wasn't any beautiful shots. I mean, and that's part of the movie. It was a gritty, on the ground war movie. I mean, the beach stuff looked kind of cool, but I don't think there were any like glorious shots.
See, I thought the opposite. I thought every shot would have been worth that IMAX. So
just for those moments?
Just for those moments, like especially when
$17.
Especially when the Star Destroyer was up against it came out of the shadows, and you're like, oh shit, the Star Destroyer is so big. But then it was like so minuscule compared to Death Star. I thought that would have been really cool.
No, that stuff looked beautiful.
Yeah,
it's like
but it was all in the trailers.
When they did the Space Wars over the planet, like the Star Destroyers kind of look like Legos at sometimes. Like, I don't know, maybe it was because I was in 2D or what, but I don't know if I'm spoiled from IMAX, but I was like, this looks kind of like Legos when they
I did notice that a little bit.
They went a little bit far with how small they were compared to the Death Star, and I think that's what happened.
Yeah, I did notice that weird, like the contrast of like the Star Destroyers was really like it kind of had that Lego look because it was like so clear against the sky, like it looked like it was just like a toy up against.
Well, that's what they did in the '70s. They just made those little figurines and then like filmed them.
70s.
Yeah.
I know. It's too far in each spectrum. Anyways.
Edwards. All right, so before we go into positives, real quick, maybe top 3 characters out of the movie. I know it's an audible. I'll go first. My number 1 was K2SO, and I think that was kind of a cop-out way to. I mean, I think it's easy to make a droid funny, but he was the best. Donnie Yen. I changed mine. Donnie Yen's character is number 1 for me.
Yeah. Okay.
K2SO is number 2, and then I'll go Jyn Erso.
All right, I'll go Donnie Yen, Ben Mendelsohn, number 2, and then who could be number 3? I like Cassian. I think he was good. He surprised me just because I've seen him in other. I forgot his real name. I've seen him in other movies and he never did anything special. But I think I think that expectation, and then seeing his role, seeing his performance, surprised me. So I liked him.
Yeah, I would say I think mine. I like Jin a lot. Like I know that you know, she's the main character, so it makes sense. But you know, I just thought you had her motivations. She was like a little, you know, had a few weaknesses, but also like her like conflicting hero versus not acting story. I thought was like really interesting, tied in with my second favorite character, who was Saw. I thought he was like, even though they hardly used like a lot of the dialogue that they used in the trailer, where he's like, well, what will you become, and like some of the coolest lines of the trailers, I thought like, you know, it was awesome that they tied in from Clone Wars, which he was like, you know, and it was cool to see that extra layer of like, you know, there's a rebellion, but then there's also like this extremist group that like doesn't even associate with them. So I thought that was like a cool addition to that. And then my third favorite character was Donnie Yen's character.
Do you guys think Forrest Whitaker overacted?
No, because you have to know Saw's character.
That's what I didn't like. I don't know that beforehand.
And I was in the theater like, what is he doing? Then I was like, well, that is kind of how I got the Saw character came across to me in the book. Like he is the extreme of the extremists.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's actually pretty good acting.
Yeah. He was definitely crazy. So I could see where like the overacting thought comes in, but I think like there was probably directed to like almost overacting.
I was just surprised. I think you just said it, but how much or how early he left the movie, how early he died. I was very surprised that he was going to be very integral part of it. But
well, from the trailers you could tell it's like one.
Well, yeah, but if you're not paying attention, then
he was almost like the Maz Kanata character of like this movie, like to transition like the main characters from like the
from
first
point
act,
A to point B
to like the final act.
Yeah, good.
So big positives. We'll start with you, Matt.
I mean, I just loved it overall. I just thought it was like, I just thought they hit on everything that I wanted it to. And I think the biggest positive for me was, okay, they had all these cameos and like, you know, older characters, and I think they used every single one of them perfectly. Like at first I thought Bail Organa was just gonna walk up and that was gonna be his only cameo, and like I love Jimmy Smits and Bail Organa, so I was really disappointed. And then they used him perfectly, and with the Mon Mothma, his interaction alluding to Obi-Wan, that was really cool. And so I really liked, and then Vader's action scene was just like the best probably that you've ever, like I've ever seen action-wise.
Yeah, let's say that to the end. We'll all talk about it.
That was like how they used the older characters with Rebels, Clone Wars, prequels, original trilogy, just like hit spot on.
Yeah, I have to agree exactly with that. And then to add to it, I think the pacing of the movie was great. There was never for me a part where like this movie is just kind of the typical movie in Star Wars, but it was I don't know, there was just, they kept moving and at the expense, like I said, of some of the characters and some of the story. But overall, if you're going to keep me interested in a movie like that, then I'm going to pay attention and I'm going to enjoy it for the most part. So yeah, the pacing I think was one of my biggest positives.
Yeah, I like the pacing too. It didn't feel like 2 hours and however long it was. Moved back pretty quick. I just appreciate what it does to Star Wars legacy. Excuse me. What do you guys think about it? Answering the question of the flaw in the Death Star, and
I thought that is one of the biggest things people had problems with is that flaw. But now you know they had no idea what it was. That even if the plans got sent up, they didn't intercept them. Everyone that knew that there was a flaw pretty much died, I believe. So you would never have that, you know. No one else would ever know it. So yeah, I thought they did really well.
Yeah, I just thought, like you said, like with the legacy, I mean, the thing about everybody loves the original trilogy, but there's really, you don't get a lot of depth to the story. You know, it really is about Luke Skywalker, and this just like adds so many levels to like the rebellion, like with the extremist group, with the flaw in the Death Star. There's like defectors, and like it makes it more complex, which is how it would really be. So that was just really awesome for me.
Yeah, so that, I mean, Adding that, I think, just boosts New Hope, makes it the stakes a little bit higher once you watch that again. So I mean, yeah, just everything it brought, because even showing the rebels not united prior to that fight, and you know, some you would have never even thought about until you saw that. So all those good things out there. So yeah, there's a small little scene at the end that someone tried to ruin for me. I'm not gonna say who.
Sorry.
What you guys think? Wait, first of all, what do you think about Vader's use prior to that scene in the movie? Too much, too little?
I like I said, I just thought they used every old character perfectly, and so I even liked how they had him in like the BAFTA tank. Like you can kind of see him like burnt and whatever. And it got confirmed, I think, that he was on Mustafar, where the final.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. I was trying
him and
to.
Obi-Wan is, and he built like a lair there or whatever, and that's awesome. Cause
Yeah.
it's like he can't give it up. He can't give it up.
Yeah, that I was thinking exactly that. I was like, I couldn't think of the name of the planet, but it looks exactly the same. Yeah, I thought it was perfect. I did not expect the last scene with him to happen. I don't know why I didn't think of that. I didn't think it was going to become that close to New Hope. But yeah, I thought they were only going to use him for when he was meeting with Mendelsohn's character. And it kind of struck me as weird. The only problem I had with him is he kind of looked, just the way he looked like slouched over, whoever was portraying him. And it looked like his shoulders were kind of concaved in, as opposed to, like, you know, the big bad Vader. So that's the only problem I had. It wasn't huge. I just noticed it because I was nitpicking, like, is he the real Vader? So yeah, but
You guys even like that one-liner? Don't choke on
yeah.
your
See, that was that
I
kind
thought
of
it was goofy.
yeah. It added something different to Vader, because you always see him as just he doesn't talk very much. He's this big and imposing person, but I think it gave him a little bit more of a personality, and I think that's what they're going for, because apparently people are talking about a solo Darth Vader film, and so if that happens, they have to add a little bit more personality to him to make it a little bit more
Give him a
entertaining.
goofy sidekick that he kills.
Mini Vader.
Yeah.
Give him a new one every time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the end scene, like, what do you guys think about it? I personally, I needed that, because as much as we talk about we fear Vader and we know kind of what he means, watching the original trilogy, all I see is
Yeah, that's
and
exactly
I'm
it.
just like, what's
Exactly
scary
my
about
thoughts.
that? And so once you see it looking like actual video game or whatever, a
New generation.
2016 movie,
Yeah.
and he's coming in, he's slice. I was like, whoa!
Yeah.
It looked like a death scene in a horror movie. So
Yeah, it was. It was like Alien, like the movie Aliens.
Yeah, all of the action like was pretty brutal. Like, you know, they showed like people getting slammed into walls like really up close, which I don't feel like they normally do in Star Wars. And then yeah, him just like and like the transition, how he was like just walking through, like plowing through people, was just such like a perfect way to do it. Like it was so brutal and quick, but also like still had like a little bit of the staticness that he would have to have because he has no legs or arms basically.
Yeah, he didn't need to move much. He just did what he
Yeah,
did.
he just walked through people, and it was perfect.
Yeah, that was amazing, and I was like goosebumps, especially when his lightsaber goes on for the first time. It's just like, oh my god.
I thought it was going to end right there, and I think
God.
he was going to start fighting.
Yeah.
So
that was awesome. And then I guess to go with that end scene, what did you think about the Carrie Fisher CGI?
wait, take my next one.
Oh, well there you go.
She looked terrible. She looked like I don't know what that was. Like Tarkin I could kind of get with, but her, like, I don't know. Carrie Fisher's Benjamin Button technology, whatever they call it, it just looks just terrible. And she didn't even move, or like she just had to stand there. So I thought that'd be easier to do effects wise, but I don't know. It looked like her face was slipping off the robot. I don't know.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it's always gonna be weird, but I thought it was short enough where it like didn't really have that negative of an impact on me.
Yeah, no, I didn't think it was horrible. I could have done without, but then you kind of don't. You don't hit on I think it was a very strong moment to end on. And if she just would have been turned around, I don't know. I guess they would have just shown their ship fly away, and that would have been kind of weird, I guess. But I liked it. I didn't mind it too much.
So what if they just like Princess Leia and she goes to turn, they cut?
I guess that would have been alright.
I would have been like, thank you. Yes.
What I thought it was gonna be once I saw like they were leading up to that is I thought they were gonna use, instead of doing CGI, they were gonna use like the hologram from A New Hope, and she was gonna be recording the message to
That
send
would
to
have been
Obi-Wan
good.
Kenobi, and like to R2D2, and so they wouldn't have had a CGI. They could have just used they could have showed like a character in the in the garb
back,
or whatever,
yeah.
her back, and then the hologram, and that would have been a way to do it without having to do the CGI. But
Take notes, Disney. All right, so let's grade this thing. Go ahead, Matt.
oh man,
You can get 0.5.
Yeah, I'm 10 out of 10. I really am. I just like there was those little bit of flaws and like a little lack of character development, but to give it anything less would just the experience of that movie. Like you said, it flew by, paced well, and just like you knew what was gonna happen, and yet I still just wanted more. So I couldn't give it less than a 10.
Yeah, I kind of at war with myself just because I wanted that more of a story. I wanted more characters, but coming out of it and coming in 3 days later, I'm still like hyped about it. I'm still thinking about the whole movie itself, so I'm gonna give it a 9.5.
Oh, right. Well,
The last scene just did it for me.
Yeah.
It would have been like a 9 but
yeah. So, I mean, after feeling peer pressure to read Catalyst prior to the movie to enhance the movie, I feel like it did the exact opposite to me.
Yeah, that's it.
And so, with that in account, but for the Vader scene, for what it did for New Hope, and for what that beach war whole sequence was, I'm gonna give it a generous 6.5.
Oh.
I wanted to go way lower when I first saw it. It's just, man, I would have been so much better not knowing anything about Galen, Jen, or any of them, and be okay, just let them die. But man, getting the background story, now seeing what they ended up, it was terrible. And then Krennic, like, he is one of the best villains that people will never know about. If you just know the lengths he went through to get this Death Star created and the way that they displayed him in the movie. So I gotta give it a 6.5.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go read Catalyst. I want them, but that'll happen though. Sometimes you have too much backstory and the movies aren't able to do them justice. Yeah. It hurts it at times.
Yep. All right. So most importantly, let us know what you guys thought. Put it in the comments section. Was it a 10? Was it a 6? Was it a 2? Who knows? Like, subscribe, do all those things. And remember, if you want more canon, stick around for more canon.